Thank you, Asta, for the introduction. And it is a pleasure for me to be here in this forum and bring in perspectives of of various innovative practices that we have at Accenture. Let me also in parallel share my screen. Do let
Yeah.
me know once you're able to see it.
Yes, we can see.
All right. So I think beyond the introduction that Astha shared, apart from being from a business perspective, apart from being the market lead for a Japan business, I am also the gender inclusion lead for Accenture Technology in India. And many of the aspects that I will share today is something that I am personally involved in driving as well. So I think as we start, I want to start by giving an overall perspective of the gender and equality. I would say perspective from an Accenture perspective before we deep dive into the learning and development programs. And so I just wanted a confirmation. Can you see the slide properly?
Yes, we can see.
Okay, all right. So I think as I move on, the business case for equality does not have to be kind of reiterated, right? Everyone understands the importance of it. But the key is that in spite of everything that we've done over the years, there continues to be challenges when it comes to inclusion, and there continues to be exclusion. And in fact, the pandemic has set us back by several decades when it comes to the progress. So every organization is doing their best to further the cause when it comes to gender inclusion. However, there continues to be a massive perception gap. Now, at Accenture, we have a very strong research that we've done called Getting to Equal. And this research has thrown up some very interesting facts. And we use this research as the basis for many of the learning and development program that we come up with. Now, our research shows that while there are a number of socioeconomic barriers to equality in workplace, be it educational disparity, childcare responsibility, domestic responsibility, cultural biases, etc. But as an organization and culture, policies also can many a times hold women back. As a simple example, all of the organizations have our policies around maternity benefits. But the fact that we are saying the maternity leave is for women for 3 months and now 6 months, and in most places or even a year, many a times also tends to hold back women from career progression. So when you look at that from a different lens, to say that it is not only maternity leave but encouraging parental leave, when we equally encourage our men also to take on that responsibility on childcare. These are various while facets where we see that as organizationally as policies also we could make some changes. Now clearly when we talk about the aspect of bringing in equality, we want to focus a lot on the culture of equality when it comes to women. Now our research clearly shows that the culture of equality to be a multiplier when it comes to advancing gender equality, where people can thrive and organization can benefit. And this is both equally for men and women, right? So while we find that there is 4x more propensity for women to reach senior leadership positions, but equally for men as well, they are likely to reach senior leadership roles when you operate in a culture where equality is seen as a culture, is seen as a a facet of every action, every day behavior and actions that you see in the organization. Now, there are several factors that contribute to this culture of equality that we're talking about. I'll talk about broad, 6 themes or aspects that our research shows is quite critical. And this is across various segments. This is not just focusing on gender, but also the aspect of, pride, the LGBTQ community, people with disabilities. So these aspects are equally important, across segments that we see. Starting with the first is bold leadership. So starting with what are the bold goals that we are setting for ourselves? The role that leadership plays in driving the culture, holding leaders accountable when it comes to the aspect and ensuring that there is transparency through metrics and progress is tracked on an ongoing basis. The second aspect is comprehensive action. So what are the tangible actions that an organization is creating to ensure that the culture of equality spans across attracting talent, retaining talent, developing talent, and advancing them? How are we ensuring that we are creating a level playing field for everyone equally? The third aspect, how are we ensuring that the environment that we're creating for our employees is empowering, where people feel confident they can bring their whole self and true self to work, that they are the same people, whether you're outside of work, within the work, and ability to have these holistic conversations without bias. So that is an equally important facet. And I would say a logical extension of that is also setting up an environment where it is acceptable that it is okay to fail without any worry about discrimination or recrimination as you go along, and people feel safe to take risks, knowing that you're in a very safe environment where your well-being, where your progression from a career perspective, your personal well-being continues to be seen as equally important. At the same time, equally important that when there are issues or concerns, do our employees feel safe to raise these concerns, not just with leaders, but even about leaders in a scenario or an event where the issue is stemming, say, from a leadership level, especially when it comes to harassment and discrimination. And lastly, the organization focusing on building of the culture of equality, not just for ourselves, but also for society at large. So these are the 6 pillars, the most important ones, while there are many more that our research throws out as pillars around which we anchor a lot of our learning and development program. Now, moving on, when we are talking about the culture of equality, how do you practically go about driving it? For driving and creating a culture of equality, we need culture makers. So the next question is, who are culture makers? So culture makers are leaders who walk the talk. And as I use the word leaders, these are not necessarily designated leaders or senior leadership in that sense, but this is each and every individual across the career level spectrum of business who say, drive and do actions that will make our entire workforce, our organization be more inclusive. So leaders who say and make it important to be voiced out in every forum, every engagement, that creating the culture of inclusiveness and equality is a priority for the organization. The fact that they do this by taking actions and personal goals, where you are going about identifying and bringing out change one step at a time, and then this has to be in every facet, every interaction, every initiative that individual is doing. And the last is obviously the entire focus to drive results by creating targets and rewarding those individuals who are leading the change and who are seen and who are these culture makers, really ensuring that they get the right level of visibility and become role models in our entire aspect. And as an organization, it is very important that we empower our people to step up as culture makers and are consciously supporting them through the entire journey as we drive through this culture transformation. Now, as Accenture, both in India and globally, we clearly walk the talk. So at Accenture, globally and India, the commitment to equality starts from the top. So whether you look at our CEO, Julie Sweet, our chairperson in India, Rekha Menon, and Ruhi Ranjan, who's a senior managing director, who's responsible for she's the IND sponsor. All of these are women. Now, the focus, so across, our board is a very diverse board, be it from ethnicity, gender, geographic representation. Our female representation within our board is 50%. Within our global managing committee, 20% are women, led by our CEO herself. Now, as part of our talent ambition, we originally focused on looking at saying, how do we attract the best people to our organization? From there, we've moved on to the perspective to say, how do we as an organization become worthy of these best people? So really, as you can see, we are flipping the entire equation, saying it's not about best people coming to us, but why should those best people come to us? Why should those best people continue to work with us? In India, as Accenture, we are over 250,000 people. And as you can imagine, with that kind of scale, the scale itself becomes the challenge for ourselves as to how do you ensure that our intent and action is really able to touch each and every individual, and every part of our business. And that's where the framework that you see on the right side of the slide is what we leverage. This is a very robust framework that helps us bring to life the various facets when it comes to building this culture of equality. I did speak about bold leadership, comprehensive actions, and empowering environment being that pillar on the basis of which we want to hinge. Not just within the organization, but also engaging our clients and partners to drive measurable change and action with our local communities and with our clients to say, how do we position equality and a culture of equality as a key driver for value creation itself. Now, moving into the specific segment and in detail, focusing on the learning and development aspect of it. So the Getting to Equal research clearly puts out that position saying, when she rises, we all rise. And that is, I would say, the underlying driving thought that we have when we focus on any of our practices, initiatives. Now, getting specifically to the learning and development program for women. So commitment to learning and development is embedded into every part of the organization. Globally, India focus, be it irrespective of which part of the business you are, technology or strategy, consulting, and available for women, across career levels. I'd like to categorize this in 4 different aspects when it comes to these programs. The first pillar is really the various programs that are global in nature, focusing on holistic career and professional development. I'll take few examples that I want to share details on. So the first one that I'd like to start with is the 4R framework. The 4R framework is an ongoing and continued exercise that we do across our workforce. Like I said, it's a global framework that we deploy, targeted specifically on senior women in our workforce. And here the intent is that we continuously look to see how do we assess and enable our women to say, do they have the right skill, the right role, the right client, and the right sponsor? And this is something, the answers to these questions is what we look at to build these action plans, a very personalized action planning to identify other gaps when it comes to either helping them on skills or providing them with the right roles, etc. And a very comprehensive and detailed action plan for every individual that is very tightly integrated with their learning and development journey, their performance achievement journey itself. There are goals that are set out at the beginning, and not just for the individual, right? The goals including for the supervisor, including to that there is accountability to action on each of those R's that we are talking about in the 4R framework. Moving on to the next one is another program, which is a very interesting one called Insight. The Insight program, again, focuses on relatively the senior manager layer. where we look to provide them with a 9-month-long experiential learning journey across all parts of the businesses. And the most amazing part of this program is that our participants are part of a global pool where they get to interact with individuals across geographies and across various parts of our business. And here they also get into a very 3-day focus experiential workshop where they get to reflect on their own career aspirations, focus on what their personal career journey is, and what is it that they want to do from a future perspective. So really bringing about that intentionality when it comes to their career journey, along with huge amount of opportunities to network and learn from experts that comes across. Let me move on to the second pillar, which is the domain-specific programs. So like I said, our organization, varied workforce, technology, consulting, strategy, business processes and functions, etc. We also focus significantly on domain-specific learning programs. So to take an example, the first one, Grow Women in Leadership, or the last one where we talk about developing future women leaders. Now, these are programs specifically within our technology track, as well as for a consulting track, where we focus on mentoring and grooming women into senior leadership roles. So these are our high performers who we consider as our target for leadership succession, that we through a mechanism of sponsorship, curated learning, assignments, personalized coaching, and network opportunities, that we have targeted program for running for a span of anywhere from 4 to 5 months, where they go through this to be able to help build the next leadership journey for them. And interestingly, way back in 2015, from in technology perspective, when the Grow Women in Leadership program was launched. In fact, I myself, as a senior manager at that time, was one of the first participants in that program, and then kind of can personally vouch for the impact that program has had in my ability to scale up my own personal leadership journey. Now, that's from a leadership perspective. Equally important, we are a technology consulting company, is also to look at the aspect of how do we encourage our women to be deep technologists. So the next program, the high-tech edge or cyber, these are programs that are focusing on providing that right opportunities from a learning perspective, more at a mid-career level women, technologists, to upskill them in skills of the future. So, we continuously evolve and expand this program. While we started off with, say, a focus on data and AI, this year we've expanded these programs into other skills like cloud, cybersecurity, newer platforms that are coming up, etc. Is where we provide our women learning opportunities, and again, very laser sharp program structure that we come up with, which is a combination of ability to learn technology, mentorship from experts, and as an end outcome, looking at both certifications that are provided from within Accenture, so technology architecture certifications, as well as industry relevant and industry recognized certification as an outcome of these initiatives. Now, moving on to the third pillar, the various pan-India programs that we look at. So while you are, whichever part of the workforce that you are, as a start, you are, first a woman employee of Accenture in India, and hence we also have, as part of our pan-India offerings, say the Vahini Learning Series, for example, where we do several sessions on relevant topics for our women in India, both at a personal and professional development perspective. Now, these are entity agnostic learning series, and several topics that we've covered, things like the importance of networking, imposter syndrome, financial management, the importance of financial management. So these are, several non-domain topics that we cover as part of these learning series. We also have a very strong alliance with Every Woman, which is a global partnership. which we provide very strong resources made available to our women free of cost in that sense, so that they, again, extension of what we're doing as a part of Vahini. This is a global resource that is available, where many topics that are relevant to our women across challenges on aspects of self-confidence, in fact, online presence. If you can see, it is becoming so much more important in the wake of pandemic, on how we are continuing to engage and interact with each other. The whole aspect of developing, leadership DNA. So a lot of personalized content that is made available to our women in the workforce for them to become, very, effective, and even a lot of inspiring content that we look at. Lastly, the entire aspect of ecosystem partnership. So while we talk about growth for women in our workforce, but growth is only sustainable if there is shared success. So equally important for us is to contribute back to the community, contribute back to the society, and how do we ensure that women who are not in our workforce, but how can we bring about our collective experiences to support them and promote growth and a culture of equality for them as well. So we partner with an NGO by the name of Catalyst, where we have collaborated to prepare young underprivileged women who are pursuing professional qualifications to become corporate ready through a mentorship program. So what we do as a part of this is pair up senior women leaders with a student who's undergoing perhaps an engineering or an MBA or whatever, and through a very structured method, ensure that as women leaders, we are not just women, actually men and women, to be honest, we are able to help them understand the various facets that they will need to start thinking about, start to orient their I would say energies to learn, recognize, and also a lot of experience sharing to help them navigate the journey from a student to a corporate professional that they are aspiring to be tomorrow.
So Rani, sorry to interrupt you, but can we have a Q&A session, because we are
let me just conclude. Maybe this is perhaps my last time, so I'll just conclude.
Sure.
So very similarly, I think I'll just talk about Unnati is another program where we partner with technology, entrepreneurs and women-led social enterprises. From an impact perspective, 100% of our women go through the learning development programs. 50% of our women, globally got promoted in 2021. So these are just outcomes and impacts that I wanted to focus on. Again, some more metrics. So clearly the graph shows you the impact that we've been able to create over the years. But at the same time, I would say that we've laid a very strong foundation across the board, and the results are starting to speak for itself. But however, we are very proud of all of the media recognitions that we have, the several awards that we have been receiving, including the diversity award today that Accenture is winning on this platform as well. So a very strong journey that we've had in the last couple of decades to create this culture of equality, but it's a journey, and it continues, and we continue to be committed to building and propagating the culture of inclusion and equality. So with that, thank you so much for listening in. Over to questions.
Yeah, thanks, Rani. So one of our attendee asking for, like, Ankita is asking, how do you ensure buy-in from managers to have women employees undergo the L&D programs?
Absolutely. No, and a very relevant question, because and I think that the buy-in aspect is the most important aspect when we talk about this culture of equality. So while I spoke about a lot of learning and development programs, equally there are programs for sensitization. So when we talk about these culture makers that I spoke about, how do they go about championing the cause, and we bring everyone into a fold? So we have some programs like men as gender allies. These programs are also equally ensuring that accountability is seen to be equal, that men and women are equal partners. And when we talk about metrics, progress, etc., it is looked at from a lens saying that not just globally or at an India level to say Accenture, but also to say how every engagement every project, every leader, what are their personal commitments and goal. And by a combination of sensitization and the raising the awareness and the importance of this, I truly see that we've been successful in getting that commitment to provide that space for our women to be able to participate in the right, learning and development programs that we put out there.
Thanks, Rani. It was a nice presentation, and like it was very good to have our L&D program in Accenture. So yeah, thanks for today. So now we have our second speaker, Shishir Kumar, who works in Airbus Group, and he works as a head rewards and develop. So welcome, Shishir. Over to you, Shishir.
Hi, I hope you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you.
Uh, do you have my presentation, or should I project?
If you can share, it will be grateful.
Right. Let me know if and when you can see.
Yes, we can see your screen.
Yeah. So as Rani was covering a lot of it, and the challenges and the initiatives are not very different from one organization to others, because we are in the same market facing similar challenges. Of course, one of the big challenges is attracting women at all levels. Of course, there are different challenges at each level, whether it is at entry level or mid-level career level or senior, what you call management or leadership level. We have, all of us have different initiatives which are unique in nature to attract the women folks at different level, women colleagues at different level. But now, once they are in the system, it is very important that how we put our effort at all these levels. And that is where I have put it in this diagram, wherein we look at the different initiative in these four buckets. So we typically categorize all our employees in these four buckets. And how do we put our efforts, which is more focused and more relevant for their level, and that's where you see that there's something at each employee which is open to all employee level, even though they join as a fresher. Then there is there's intervention at manager level, so it helps them. It is experienced people. How do we support them to take that first step to leadership? And we call them potential leader, and we support them to take up the leadership level role. So the preparation goes on for typically anywhere between 6 months to a year, wherein we support them with various initiatives. Then comes at the senior manager level. Now they are already a senior manager, managing manager. How do we help them to take a leadership level role? We have a gating criteria, so there's an assessment. How do we prepare them for those development centers? And this helps them to move into the leadership level roles. Once they are already at leadership, how do they progress into the top 2 or 3 roles, the CXO's roles? And that's where the executive master class and formal learning comes, that can help them to go through those specific developmental centers. So these are the 4 clusters where we provide all the support. And of course, there are programs like AccelHERate Developer. We specifically look for women leaders who have the potential of leadership at all levels. And we call them AccelHERate Developer because we need to accelerate their developmental journey and path. Now, when it comes to program, what kind of program we look at? We have a varied range of programs that we talk about, and each program is quite big in nature. So, I mean, each of this would take me a lot of time. But specifically, I would talk about some of them. Management basics and leadership foundations. We start this for people who are at mid-level, like entering into manager or manager level. We we take them through a formal program which helps them to understand management basics and how they get into leadership from there. Of course, what I was talking about future leader program is when they are yet to become leader, but we have some potential in them. And once they become managers, then first line manager program. Then also once they have experience, they have a experienced manager program. So we are there at each step. Especially, we have a strong women in India network, Women India network. That the leaders from this group take care of a lot of programs. So we call it, of course, mentoring with all the leadership. But wisdom is something that we are very proud of. It is women in STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math, and that being our prime focus, being an aerospace company, that we focus on technology, engineering, and math. We are looking at how do we grow at different levels, and they took much more root, not just in organization through wisdom, but also outside. How do we help women get into technology, engineering, and math at college level, right from school? How do we help them to get into college level? They put that kind of effort externally too. Because when they are at Airbus, they have already gone through this program. They're already in science, engineering, and math. So, but our focus here is outside at school and university levels. We have a lot of these programs which you can see for accelerated developers at different levels. So wherein you can see down to up. For freshers or for entry level, we have start and evolve. Fast and expand is more at senior or leadership level. Achieve and my way is more at the leaders level who would get into the CXO role. So these programs corresponds to different level of people and how we cater to their need so that they do not stagnate at any level. So we have a continuous support for them. And of course, it does not stop there. We look at more individuals. So for each of these accelerated developers, there is IDP done, individual development plan, looking at what developmental needs they have individually, and that's when they are prescribed with specific program that is there. You see for all employees, influencing skill, persuasion, empowering conversation, emotional intelligence. We do provide them. Coaching skill is where we are working on more on a closed loop network. So there are women at right level whom we are training to become coach, so that they can help the people who are coming in from the lines and whom they can coach with their experience, so that it is a closed loop network and they can help them grow. So that is what we are focused at. Of course, we have a lot of tools that we have internally given to people, so which is linked to our internet, which is on a Workday platform. And people have tools like Predators. It is predictive analytics tool which can, so it basically evaluates you based on your previous answers, and it is very adaptive in nature, so it can keep asking you questions based on what you want to do. There are n number of areas. Predators is a big company and produces this tool that helps people to understand what is their gap. And the evaluation, the report of Predators is individual. They can share only if they wish to. But it also linked to another platform which is called CSOD on the same platform of Workday, Cornerstone on Demand and Udemy. So that prescribes them the kind of training based on their individual assessment that they can take. So they don't have to share if they don't wish to with anyone else, but they can still work on their developmental program. And we are pushing it really, really well in all sectors within Airbus. That your development is in your hands. You take charge of your career. You drive your development by using these tools. So you can evaluate yourself. You know what are your developmental area, and those trainings are available to you at click. So go ahead and do that training. That's what we provide. And of course, I talked about coaching and other things. So that's all from my side.
Thanks, Shishir. It was a nice presentation. So we have few questions from our attendees. So yeah. So Ramya is asking, do you face any challenges in executing a L&D program, especially for women? How do you measure the impact of your women L&D programs?
Well, really quite pointed questions, I would say. Yeah. So challenges in terms of executing program, the answer is not really. The women we had, they have been very, or we have, they are looking at their development quite aggressively, and it is helpful. Except the last 2 years, wherein we had to adapt a lot, because most of these training program, we being a very conventional industry, was classroom based or in-person based, and the challenge was to adapt it to virtual environment. So it took us some time to adapt to it. But if you ask me about how do we judge the effectiveness of these programs, it is just not by the percentage of women that we have in the organization, but how we are increasing the percentage of women employees at different levels. And we do not do it only when it comes to evaluate or present the data, but also when every time we have a nomination list we prepare for programs that I was talking about, Evolve Fast, at different level, or masterclass. We look at how many women employees have moved from one level to other level, which means from those 4 category, entry level to manager level to senior manager or leadership, entry level leadership level and leadership level, and how many we could increase through these programs. Year after year, we have seen the number of women employees have gone up at each level. Of course, there's a challenge at the manager and leadership level today that we face, but we are working hard with all the stakeholders, all the leadership team, that we ensure that we have right number of participation.
Thanks, Shishir. Thanks for answering. We have one more question. So, Ketki is asking, how are L&D programs beneficial for the company and the women professionals?
Of course. So for the company, of course, we need the right level, and we have been growing rapidly. So if I look at last 3-4 years, we have doubled our head count. And going forward, we would be another 2 years, we would again be doubling ourselves. So when you are growing at a fast pace, you need a right level of people at all the levels, like first level manager to your leadership level. And training and developing the right set of people certainly helps, because you need to give that strength and pillar for further growth. One. Second, how it is helping women colleagues of at Airbus. It has been tremendous to see that the women colleague who came in and have taken charge. So many of us, I mean, some of you already know that Airbus has a program that we hire women colleagues who take break, career break, irrespective of how many years. We have colleagues who have even taken break for 7, 8 years and came back. It helps them to connect quickly with the work, with the culture, as well as help them to assume that kind of role. So first batch, I mean, we have done, we call it Fly Again. We had colleagues who joined us about 3, 4 years ago after a break of 7 years, and today they are managers. They are managing a large team, and the entire program of helping them as a leader, and therefore having a mentorship with another leader, it has helped them to gain that confidence that they are still relevant. And what we have seen, women folks, women colleagues that we have with us, if they have taken career break, it is not that they have lost on experience. Of course, some part of technology which has missed, but technology can be learned. What they have gained is much maturity, which is much more useful when it comes to managing teams. And it is a win-win situation because they are able to manage larger teams with much more ease, and that helps organization with the further growth.
Thanks, Shishir. We have one more question from our attendee. Have you found it difficult to get more women to participate in your L&D programs? If so, how have you motivated them to do so?
To be honest, I would say the answer is yes. It is some at times difficult, and at times we have to have a one-on-one discussion with them. And what I have seen is, I mean, it is quite juxtaposed that what we see normally, the men folks or men colleagues overestimate their competence to some extent, and women colleagues we have seen they underestimate their competence or their skills. Even though they have it, they do not come and flaunt it. They do not come and sell it. And that is where we have sensitized all managers to find the key women employees in their area. So each department leader, each manager has to come up, okay, these are the women colleagues they have, irrespective of their level, but everyone has to come up with their name, and we, the manager and HR, would go and talk to them about their individual development. We take them to a level that what it takes for them, or what investment it would need from our side for them to take up that. So I would say there is a mix. There are some colleagues who are very serious about taking up a senior level role or development, but there are good capable people whom we need to go and ask, nudge as well. And surprisingly, even though they were initially hesitant, but when we nudged and they came in, they are doing far better job. And at some time they have even discussed with us that not sure why I was not taking this leap of faith.
That's really good. Like women are encouraging ourselves. Like, so
Yeah.
it's good to be women on platforms. So yeah, we have one more question from Samhita. It's great to see the L&D programs initiated by the companies. How can a woman who has gone through these programs showcase it and rise in their careers?
So all these programs that I have talked about, we clearly put them at 4 different levels. So depending on what level you are, you go through the program relevant to your level, like entry level, mid level, senior level, or leadership level. And whenever they pitch in for a role, or whenever we have a senior level role, like first line manager role, we ensure that 50% of the candidate or equal number of candidates are women colleagues. When we pitch them, we discuss clearly that they have gone through this set of development. And when we discuss at a selection committee who should be the person to be selected, we discuss that in detail, that what is the investment has happened. And this is where they can also sell themselves. Right. We have a very clear developmental center that we was talking about in my presentation, that they have to go through a round of interview. I mean, everyone, that is same for all colleagues, whether it's men or women. But during the interview, it really comes handy for them that they have already been prepared. They know what is going to come, and it helps them, the developmental program that we put in place, because all the developmental program that we have is also linked to something called Airbus leadership model. So entire developmental journey is linked to leadership model, which is a fundamental for all the assessments as well, all the developmental centers as well. So it does help them when they go there.
Yeah, that's true. So you're running a program that is Fly Again with Airbus. So can we discuss, like, can we know more about that?
So it is a program long back we have started, couple of years we have done now. And what this program does is we specifically call women employees, women colleagues from the industry who took career break for whatever reasons. Now, what we look at in them, that we look at the intent for them to come into the industry back. What kind of effort they have put from their side, and that's all. We do not look at that, can they code, can they do exact job or not, because this is not just a recruitment, but it is a program in itself. So there is a separate developmental focus that they get. So they get, once they join in, they get job specific training for a few months. They also get mentorship. So all the women colleagues who come through this program, they go through this journey, and their mentor has to be someone from leadership. So they have that support from top leadership itself that helps them also to get support from other colleagues. We have not lost any of women colleagues that we have hired through these programs, so we are proud of that. They are very stable, and some of them, at least we have one case that the person who joined in from the first batch has become a leader inside the organization. They assumed the role of a senior manager. So it is really a success story. Initially, people who were skeptical, they also now look forward to hire candidates through this program because they see the value. Yeah.
So, Shishir, we have one more question for you. Uh, is the training flexible enough to accommodate individual schedules?
See, I mean, to be very honest, the training initially is not very flexible because they need to pick up a lot of things. I don't want to get into that everything is flexible, and that is where we are looking at people who have intent to push and get in. And to be honest, I'm proud to look at that most of the colleagues that we have recruited under this program, they have already invested a good amount of time and effort to upskill them. So they have gone through a lot of online courses. They have done relevant course to upgrade themselves with the right level of skill, and that helps us. That also tells us that they are genuinely interested to start. Initially, because they need to pick up a lot of things, so it is not as flexible in nature for at least a couple of months. Having said that, we work. I mean, much before pandemic, we were working in hybrid mode already. So yes, it is a hybrid. Not necessarily they need to be at office all the time, but what we need is they need to spend that kind of time, like 8 hours a day, even though it is pure play learning. Now that can be little flexible, that they can start early or finish early kind of schedule, but the expectation is to put that kind of time. And to be honest, we never had a challenge from any one of them in terms of putting effort. Because when they started looking to start their career back, they have settled everything so that they can put time and effort to this. So we never had those challenges.
That's
So
really true.
you may
Everybody's,
have
yeah.
to upgrade on their skill and technology, but what you gain as a exchange is the seriousness and maturity.
Yeah, thanks, Shishir. It was a great presentation and discussion with you. So, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
So we have another speaker with us, and he will be joining very soon.
He has joined you as well. Hi.
Hi, Debadarshi. Welcome.
Thank you. Is it okay to start, or shall we wait for some time?
Yes, we can start.
Okay. Are you going to present the screen, or shall I do that?
Yes, yes, yes. We are doing it.
Yeah, you can move forward. Thank you. If you can just move forward the slide, please.
Yeah, it's a network issue. Yeah, we're doing it.
Okay.
Sorry for the glitch. We are just figuring out. Give me 2 minutes.
Is it easier if I present it, or?
Yeah, we have done it. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much. Yeah. So let me just start this off and try and be as precise and quick as possible. Mastercard is extremely committed to women development, and I think that goes without saying. Anybody who knows our brand globally knows the kind of intent that we have on women development, and there are multiple interventions that we run across the globe, not just regionally. And we take this extremely seriously, and we've got full support from our leadership teams as well, who kind of keep this as part of their language. So the first thing that I wanted to call out was the Relaunch Your Career program, which is our global return to work program. So this program is designed for experienced mid-career professionals who've taken a career break. And this program provides on-the-job training, coaching, and a chance to be hired for a permanent role in 20 plus countries. An extremely popular program. Initially we started off by saying we're looking at people who've got 2+ years of break. Thereafter, we were a little flexible as well. I personally handled this program for Asia Pacific as well. And it's been an absolute pleasure talking and helping through some of these fantastic women as they want to come back to the workplace. And we've got an extremely high success rate in terms of actual conversions. So they join us as interns, and thereafter, basis their performance over a period of 3 months, they're actually considered for a permanent role in the organization. And we've got, like I mentioned before, extremely high rates of conversions. We also have a very interesting program which is called Bots for Impact, wherein we provide our women leaders the opportunity to practice the leadership behaviors required for progression to senior leadership seats. And they actually sit on boards of non-profit organizations. So it's a real life leadership simulation rather than just a training program wherein you're learning through theory. You're actually sitting on the board and you're almost, involved in running the organization. There are the normal way of election or board elections and so on and so forth. We are looking at 2 to 3 years of leadership commitment, an extremely popular program, actual on the job learning for our women leaders. We also have this beautiful program called Women Who Lead, wherein we are trying to accelerate the women's leadership. We look at all of the examples out there of fantastic women leaders across all spheres of life. And then we kind of inspire our women leaders also to say, what is that leadership shadow that they want to leave on the organization, both this one as well as their future careers. So if you can move forward as well. Thank you.
Yeah, sure, David.
That's right. Thank you. The other thing that we are extremely passionate about, in fact, you see unlocked on my backdrop, which is basically a talent marketplace that we've launched recently in the organization, wherein mentors and mentees are automatically matched basis the kind of profile that they create. But for women, what we do is we've launched a specific women's mentoring program and other tailored programs for close to 1,000 participants, particularly focused on those women at the first level of management, because we feel that these are our potential leaders of tomorrow. Fantastic lineup, not just of the mentors and mentees, but of actual development interventions as they move through this mentoring journey, which is extremely specific to their areas of development rather than a one size fits all kind of an approach. The other interesting thing that we've got is something called the 30% Club. In fact, this is something that is run globally, not just Mastercard, wherein we commit to furthering the mission to have at least 30% of all women on all boards and C-suites globally. So not just Mastercard. And 30% obviously is not the cap. It could definitely go above and beyond. So our leaders also participate in the 30% Club cross-company mentoring scheme. So there are mentors that you get externally as well, who would actually help you potentially get into these aspirational roles. The other piece that we are extremely strong on is the Women's Leadership Network, WLN. It's a BRG, meaning a best resource group, and it's a global community that continues to grow and helps Mastercard be the employer, brand, and partner of choice for women. So basically, in a nutshell, a lot of things that we've got going in this area. And, we've got specific employees who are mapped to run some of these programs rather than say that they're part of the generic HR organization. And along with other things that they do, they also focus on this. Of course, from an execution standpoint, you would do that in regions. But at a global level, we've got dedicated group of people, in fact, extremely senior people who oversee our women development programs across Mastercard. So that's all that I have for you. I'm happy to take any questions that you might have.
Thank you, Debadarshi. Yes, we have questions for you. So one question is from Nida. Do L&D programs aid in carving out new roles for women professionals?
Yes, they do. Yes, they do, of course. So when I talked about the mentoring programs as an example, now, one of the things that we do is we've got something called a development card, wherein each and every employee writes down their aspiration. What is it that they aspire to do? Which roles do they aspire to go for? And the inputs in that development card are actually kept in mind when they get on to the mentoring relationship in terms of what are their strengths today from an aspiration standpoint, and what are the areas of development. So there's a very clear direction that if you're getting into any kind of program, it is helping you reach some of those potential next level roles, and also giving you that seat at the table. Obviously, nothing is promised, but it gives you that ladder, if you like, to reach some of those roles, and helps you get connected to the right people in the organization that can actually help you reach those roles as well. Next.
Thanks, Debadarshi. Oh yeah, yes. So Marisa is asking, what are those steps corporate India is taking to throw such programs to level the field of women rising in their work world?
Sorry, I did get that. That sounds a little generic. Would you want to kind of unmute and ask your question? Whosoever asked that, do you want to unmute and ask?
They put it in the chat only, so that's why I'm reading it.
Yeah, but I can't see anything on chat.
Oh yeah, sure. One sec.
What are those steps corporate India is taking through such programs to level the field for women rising in the work world? So corporate India would mean the entire India. What steps to level the field for women rising in the work world? So, again, quite generic, to be honest, but I think what I'm understanding is how do they kind of get a level playing field? I think across the globe, and not just Mastercard, I think the previous speaker was also mentioning there is this positive action that's taken towards women to ensure that, I was talking about the boards for impact, that 30% club, and so on and so forth, wherein we are purposely trying to give women those roles. And, Mastercard also has internal targets as such, the 50% kind of a parity that we are trying to reach at, even at leadership levels. And we kind of monitor this closely to ensure that we are giving women more than a level playing field, actually, in the corporate world, given the kind of history that they've had, and trying to encourage more women to take on senior leadership roles.
Thanks, Debadarshi. Yes, we have one more question for you. How are the L&D programs beneficial for the women professionals?
Yeah, so I think it was answered. I think each and every program that I mentioned earlier, they're very, very specific to women, apart from obviously the leadership programs that are meant for every employee. And again, in each of the cohorts that we have across Mastercard, we ensure that there is adequate representation of women. So each and every program is very closely curated, looking at some of the development needs that we've identified for women across the board. What are those broad parameters that stand out? What are those broad soft skills that stand out, that will actually aid them take that next level, whether it's the vertical move or a lateral move? And it's not just about a learning program, like I mentioned before. It's a combination of education, experience, and exposure. So a learning program is possibly just about 10% of it. But how are we kind of engaging with the larger, let's say, HR population to give women those opportunities wherein they could actually go for projects? So I was talking about the Unlock platform, which you see, the talent marketplace, wherein they can actively pursue certain projects which are in line with their development needs, which are in line with their aspirational jobs. They don't necessarily have to take those jobs when they apply for the project, but it's actually helping them to look at an area that is outside their area of expertise and thus grow in their careers. So retention percentage of our employees we've taken through the programs, I cannot quote a percentage. It is going to be significantly high, but I can't quote a percentage.
Thanks, Debadarshi. We have a question from one of our attendees. How would you ensure that the training is effective for an employee within the company?
Okay, so from an effectiveness standpoint, like I mentioned before, there are various aspects to look at it. One is, how is the person progressing in their career? Whether it's about those not necessarily vertical moves, it could be lateral moves as well. Again, like the gentleman mentioned there, the percentage of retention, how many of these employees are staying back with the organization, how many internal roles are we filling up? So those are those external manifestations of whether programs are effective. Internally, of course, we've got a training effectiveness process wherein we not only look at Kirkpatrick's level 1, which is the classic, feedback straight after the program, but we even try in certain cases to look at a level 3 to look at the behavioral change in certain cases of the program, and not just from the participant, but as observed by their managers as well as their peers. What else? What other questions do you have for me?
Thanks, Debadarshi. It was a nice presentation and discussion with you. So we have another speaker, Sandeep Kumar, who works at Sodexo Services Private Limited, and he works as head HR operations. So he is joining.
Thank you very much. Thanks.
Thanks, Debadarshi. Hi, Sandeep. Thanks for joining. Over to you.
Hi, Amreen. This is Sandeep here.
Hi, Sandeep. You can start.
Good afternoon, everyone. Hello, am I audible? Hello, Amreen, am I audible?
Yes, Sandeep, we can hear you.
Okay. Amreen, I believe you are expecting me to start the presentation. That's right.
Yes, Sandeep, you can start the presentation. Yes.
I'm sorry if there.
No,
Sorry for
it's
this.
fine. It's fine.
I thought that somebody else is talking and okay, good. So my name is Sandeep Kumar and I represent a company called Sodexo. So I'm not very sure whether, are you able to see my screen?
Yes, no, we can see you, but not your screen, I guess. Yeah, it's not visible.
Is
Now
it
we can see
visible?
your screen. Yes, yeah, we can.
Sorry. Yeah, so before I start, I would like to give a brief introduction about my company because normally Sodexo is known to most of the people in the industry, but majority of our people know Sodexo for the food coupon business because as a part of a corporate citizenship, somewhere in your career you would have witnessed Sodexo providing you the meal coupons across the world. But Sodexo is more than that. Sodexo is more into the business of integrated facility management and industrial or institutional catering. Worldwide, we are present in around 50 plus countries, and we have close to around 4.2 lakhs people working. To 4.2 lakhs means 420,000 people. Mm. And out of that 420,000 people, we have close to around 56% of our total employee base, which is female. So globally, we are one of the companies which has, in our industry, which has more females than male. However, if I come to some of the specific countries like India, the condition is not so good. We are still hovering around, say, 20% with our existence in India for the last 25 years. This has been a great growth in terms of when we started, we were in the single digit, and in the last couple of years, because of the pandemic, we have lost some percentage of our female population. But overall, we have been in the last, say, 7-8 years, we have really grown well. And this is a journey wherein the first thing which we need to create, we wanted to create, and we did it very well, was we created the spirit of inclusion. So what was missing here is people had lots of biases, people had lots of issues around how a female can work in this kind of role, whether it's a frontline role or a leadership role. And because of that, we started with a program called, so around 5 years back, we started with a program called SOI, which is a spirit of inclusion, which was not only specific to India, but it was very well driven in India to create the right base on which we can build the building blocks. And that has really helped us not only in convincing our own operators within our own organizations, but also having a very meaningful, purposeful, and effective conversation with our clients. I would like to highlight it here that in a company like Sodexo, where majority of my people, almost 95% of our people are working out of a client side. It can be a hospital, it can be a school, it can be a factory, it can be a mining site, it can be an office, or it can be an say oil rig or whatever. majority of my people, majority of our employees are based at the client side, and there is a great say of what we should have and what we should not have. In client says, yes, I am ready to have you with this kind of ratio of male to female, I am okay. Otherwise, it becomes a very difficult task or a task for us to convince the client that why you need to have diversity, how it helps us to manage it effectively, how it helps you in managing your end consumer effectively, and what are the benefits of it. So the spirit of inclusion was all about talking to people, uh, and creating the right environment. So that is what the L&D team has done a lot in Sodexo to bring that platform of equity for the females so that they can come at the right platform and work. So that was one which has really helped us in laying the foundation. Next was we understood that there are issues at the top level. We have good amount of representation as far as females are concerned when I'm talking about senior management, but there were issues particularly in the area of middle management and junior management. So for us, junior management is any site which is run by an independent site manager. So the person is managing that site independently. He or she is the owner of the P&L of that particular site. So majority of the places, if you go around in our company, we had this problem of site managers necessarily being only males, and females were very few. So we have done a very structured women leadership program at every level, where the people were identified and they were attached to a mentor. If they are going for the middle level and above, middle level management and above. So, and these mentors are identified from across the globe. So somebody who is an aspiring segment head is being helped by somebody sitting in Singapore or Mumbai. So that's how a very structured mentoring program has really developed these women leaders who are now leading many of our sites. And it's not only sites leading, there are some big sites where we are where you have huge kitchens, and the by default most of the executive chefs used to be male only. So those were some of the barriers which we tried to break, and we made that possible, that okay, these are the non-conventional roles where women are very less to be found, and how we can create the right environment by removing the stereotype, removing the prejudices, and that's how we have. So yeah, while I'm talking about it, it looks very easy. It's very easy to talk about, but inch by inch, day by day, it has been a journey wherein we try to not only create the right environment by talking to our own operators. Uh, if you go around and see, even in the market, suppose I go to the uh, to any culinary institute where I'm looking for a talent, majority of the candidates who are coming, they are males, they are not females. Then tying up with them, creating a talent pool which is ready to partner with us in creating that kind of talent. That is where we have worked extensively in removing those biases. And believe you me, there are multiple instances where now the client is coming back to us and telling that, okay, initially I registered, I thought that this is not possible, but you guys have made it possible, and I would like more of that. So I can give you examples where even in a hospital, the maternity wards were being served by male stewards, say around 5 years back or 6 years back. And so gradually, after a lot of talking and the client realizing the real situation, we have made a lot of shift in terms of creating that talent from within or right side. And it has taken a lot of time in identifying the right pool, skilling them to get into that role, and then developing them as per the requirement of the business. So around these only, we have the basic frameworks which in L&D, which works for enhancing the not only the number of women in our overall number of people, but also creating the right kind of mindset, removing the biases, removing the stereotypes, and creating success stories. So multiple success stories which have got created are being shared so that it motivates and inspires others to fall into that path and follow it. So that's what is all around which uh, we have structured our L&D framework to enhance the female population. I think I will take a pause, and I would request if you have any questions around it so that I can give you very specific contextual answers.
Hi, Sandeep. It was a good presentation with us. So we can move ahead.
No questions?
Yeah, we'll ask at the end of this presentation if I get something from the attendees.
I'm not getting you.
We have a Q&A session at the end of this session presentation, so we'll ask.
Okay. So I'll just give you a glimpse, though there are multiple, but one of the programs wherein what we do in mentoring is we have uh, two kind of mentor. One is a formal mentor, which is in your reporting line, and then there is an informal mentor, and this is being accompanied by the e-learning module. So whatever is needed, once you have done the self-exploration, you have created a plan for your development, the rest of the things are being supported by the modules which we have created. And this is majorly based on the 17 competencies which Sodexo has, 17 leadership competencies which Sodexo has, and picking up some of the competencies. So normally we encourage people to pick up 5 out of those 17 as a part of your learning objective, and then you launch your journey, and then you are during the entire journey you are supported by your mentor, and as well as a informal mentor who can be somebody who is not directly into your reporting line, because at times what happens, you are not able to discuss everything with your official reporting manager. So this is how the programs are structured. It is, these modules are very small modules of 30 minutes each, and though these are only in 4 languages at this point of time, but we have a plan to multiply the number of languages in which this can be deployed. And this is majorly uh, a plug and play program wherein the participant can uh, self on her own, she can pick up the mentor, and she can at her self-paced she can go about the learning programs. The second one I think I talked about is about the spirit of inclusion, in which managers at all levels, male or female, as well as the frontline teams, are to be covered. And this is a, we used to have face to face, but during the pandemic we converted it into a virtual ILT program. And the learning objective here was to to create that atmosphere of diversity and inclusion, exploring different aspects of DNI, and explaining what is the commitment of Sodexo, and then again uh, this is going to help. This is a program which is a long program. It's around 4 hours program, uh, and yes, it is supported, though it was supported in different countries in multiple languages. But for India, we converted it into 8 Indian languages further. And the focus area was, as I told you, was to create the right kind of foundation so that everybody starts thinking alike. In Women in Leadership program, this is majorly for the operators as well as some of the functional roles. And this was again a blended program of e-learning and ILT program, along with some of the mentoring opportunities. Here we have also done, not only you are seeking a mentor, but as a part of your development, you are also doing the role of a mentor. So while you mentor somebody who is junior to you or who is looking for a mentorship, in that process, you are also getting developed. So that's the way we did this. And again, this was very specific for women leadership program. And gradually, if you need to grow further, we need to have a common language all across the Sodexo, and that's why we have chosen only English as a language for this. This is a program which runs over a period of around 6 months, whereas there are multiple modules of around 1.5 hours each, uh, which the person has to complete. And there are e-learning modules, close to around uh, 10 hours of content is available on that. Excuse me. This is one program which we continue to do for all the managers and excuse me, across the throughout the year. And this is where we talk about what kind of biases we have, and what are the stereotypes, and how do we take care of, how do we need to realize that, and how do we need to take care of all such biases, so typically what role can be played by women and what cannot be played by women is one of the biggest debate which we'll have in our segment. And there have been multiple examples where, because of this particular module, people have started working in those roles which were not traditionally given to. So I think these are the four L&D programs which I wanted to highlight. There are multiple programs over and above this, but those are smaller modules. These are our 4 signature programs which I thought I must table in front of this audience to showcase that what Sodexo is doing in the field of L&D for diversity and inclusion. So that's it from my side. I think now I am ready for any question. If you hello, hello, hello.
Hey, hi Sandeep. Hi, this is Kajal. Thanks very much, Sandeep, for sharing insights on that you have in place for these innovative practices. A few questions that we had for you, that have come into us on personal chat. How do you ensure buy-in from managers to have women employees that undergo these L&D programs at your organization?
It starts from the top. So the best thing in Sodexo is worldwide. Sodexo is known for diversity, and right from our senior most management to everybody has a great belief in it. Now, you need to show some kind of ROI or some kind of uh, uh, business effectiveness when you're actually trying to convince some people. So Sodexo has been commissioning research where we have consistently shown that if you have a better diversity, you will have higher employee retention, you will have higher client retention, you will have better profitability, and you'll have a better growth. So that has got ingrained in our system. The only thing which I mentioned earlier also, Kajal, was that while we are able to understand where people are being promoted to come inside, there was some kind of resistance from our client, because client is a very important part of our ecosystem. So even if I have to invite a participant from the client, suppose there is a site manager who has to come to the base office for a training program, client will ask you why you are going for this particular program when you are supposed to be here at my site, and I am paying for your cost. So the showing that value to the client takes a lot of our time. When we go and directly talk to them, we talk to their DNI head. Majority of the time, it happens that their facility heads are not able to realize this. What is the importance of this? Then connecting with the DNI head, correcting at the right forum. So that really helps us from the client side, and that once the client is aligned, it becomes easy. At times what happens that the client pushes us to do this rather than we. So that is where we get the support, and that has what has worked for us very well. I think I'm able
Sure. Yeah,
to.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for that, Sandeep. However, what has been the, the outcome or the reactions of the women that you employ these programs for, these L&D programs? What have you seen on that side of, the equation?
So if I look at year on year, we run this and we measure it in terms of how it's being successful. So like last 2 years, from within, we have been able to develop around 17% leaders who are women. Okay, and it starts from say a frontline level. So if I look at it, say I have a person who is working just below the site manager, and developing them to become a site manager. So that has been around 23% of them have come from within. So there are matrices which are the proof of the concept that tells that yeah, we are progressing, uh, and the numbers are quite supportive. Okay. So
Sure.
those
So
are the,
it's
those
tried
are
and
the measures of success, which really tells that yeah, these programs are impacting the growth of the females within the company.
right. Sure. So you have tried and tested measures in place.
Correct.
And do you constantly revisit these outcomes? Does the program evolve from time to time?
Yes. So like we launched a program to develop site managers around 2 years back from within. So the first year was really difficult because majority of the people who were nominated, unfortunately, it was a wrong time also because of the pandemic. Some of the opportunities got lost. So suppose there was a site manager position, because of the pandemic, that position itself went off, right? So the
Right.
first year we learned some things which we revisited, and now we have recalibrated our process. And this year, I think we are on the right path. So we have just finished first 6 months of our year, and as I was telling you, 17% of them are coming from that area. So
Yeah.
so that's the
Right.
yeah.
Uh, how has the pandemic, however, affected this whole the L&D vertical, Sandeep? Have you all had to? I'm sure you've had to rework certain L&D programs to fit what the pandemic has caused. In in the work lives of not just women, but anyone across the board?
Yeah, so first thing which happened is during the first lockdown, things were not physical. Still, things were not physical. Still, we had a majority of our operations running. We had to stop some of the operations, like schools and colleges were stopped, but corporates, healthcare like hospitals, they continued. Rather, they went. The intensity went up in a hospital kind of situation, or all those places. And the L&D team, which used to go around and train the people at the site, or they used to call the people in our offices, or we used to organize programs in one site where people will come from other sites. So those were getting restricted. So immediately what we did is we converted majority of it into the virtual mode. And the first lockdown, we utilized the time, we enhanced our training programs because people were sitting idle, and we utilized that time in training people virtually. So that's how we started, and now gradually it has become a normal nature that you are very well attuned to the hybrid model. Wherever it is possible, you are going to the site and doing the training, or you're calling them to a training center or a particular place where they are getting trained. Or so this last 2 years has also propelled our speed in terms of developing the e-learning modules. So whatever we were just thinking that can be done and can be done only in a classroom ILT, got moved into the virtual ILT mode. So yeah, so that's how we realigned our processes, and we have seen some good success there.
And are your learning and development programs at par for men and women?
So yeah, we are an equal opportunity employer. So there is no discrimination as far as who should come and attend. But since the population is lopsided, so 80% is male and 20% is female. So at any given point of time, the attendance would be in the same ratio, right?
Right. Sure. Do you
So like
also face
I'll
any?
give you a simple example. So of late we have started a program, which is a culinary program wherein we have tied up with multiple colleges, the hotel management institutes across the country, and chefs are coming for specific training on, suppose some there is a training on biryani or curries. So what I am seeing that a good amount of participation from female is also there. So the chefs are not all male population. So yes, that's a change which is really good, and we try to encourage that. Okay, if you have one, try to model it and create more so that everybody feels that this is a job which can be done easily. So yeah, that's what we are trying to focus on.
Right. Do you, however, and this is my last question, Sami, do you face challenges in executing these L&D programs, let's say, even pre-pandemic or during the pandemic? What are the challenges that you usually face?
Like some of them I had already spoken about that. Site is not ready to release the person. That why will you go for the training program? What is so great about it? That is the first mindset which has been tackled, but that is a day-to-day affair. So if there is a new client, again you have to redo the same thing, right? Right from the very beginning, when we pitch for a new client and we make our capability presentation, we try to start doing it. In fact, in all our capability presentation or a business development presentation to a new client, we are very specific in asking what is the level of diversity you can afford, because we would like to have 40% or we would like to have 50%, and it is one of the key components when we are bagging a new order. And then the client asks, okay, if you are telling me that, I'll give you a simple example. Suppose there is a facility management site which is to be managed. So if the client is asking that, how will you manage with this kind of ratio, because there is a 24/7 operation? Would the female would be able to come and deliver in all three shifts? What about their safety? So at the very beginning, we thrust it out so that the buying is there from day one. And then once the buying is there from the client, then it becomes very easy for us to deliver. But yes, if you have not done right, or if the client has changed, suppose there is a new client who has come, so again he may try to create an obstacle. So that those are the places where I have to go, or my team has to go once again and talk about it, that these are the benefits. And he may come with his own preconceived biases, that in my previous company it was not like that, you have done this, and because of you having so many females, your efficiency is not so high. Then we have to go with data and explain. So yeah, those are the battles which we try to win every day.
Sure. Sure. Being our male allies in the workplace. So thank you for that, Sandeep.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much, Sandeep, for sharing your insights on this. And I hope the audience listening has reason enough to look up Sodexo for careers inside. Thanks for taking the time to be here, Sandeep.
Thanks, Kajal. I mean, not only to join in Sodexo as a career opportunity, but all the people who are there as the audience, we need your support in creating that awareness that whatever is the industry, it is possible. Like women in technical roles is one of the biases which we need to break. So we need support from all of you, because I know many of you are either my client, or you are likely to be our client, and we need that environment to be created so that we can promote it further. So I definitely I would seek that support always. Thank you
Thank you.
Kajal, for giving us this opportunity to
Not at
present.
all. Thank you for being
Thank-
one of our champions.
Thanks.
Bye-bye, Sandeep. Thanks very much. All right, and that brings us to the last part of our session, which is most innovative practices within L&D programs. Is Kanakasubramaniam here?
Hello, good evening. I'm here.
Just give me one moment. Okay, thanks very much for being here today. Can I
Good evening. All.
call
Yeah,
you
you can call
Kanaka?
me Kanak.
Yeah, okay. Okay,
Kanak.
Kanak. Sure. So we have Kanakasubramaniam R. Krishnamurthi, director from Verizon India, and he is our last speaker for the day. So do line up your questions for him. We are discussing the most innovative practices that these companies follow for women learning and development programs inside their firms. So to start with, Kanaka, I hand the floor over to you to take us through the presentation that you have, and then we'll come back with questions.
Sure. Could you please confirm if you're able to see my presentation?
Yes, we can.
Thank you so much. Good evening, all. I'm very excited to be here. It's a great moment to be part of this forum. It was great listening to the previous speakers as well, and a lot to learn from each other and creating a very strong ecosystem for thriving diversity in workplace. So in Verizon, and we have been a consistent participant in this forum over the first 4 or 5 years. What I would like to focus in this segment is want to give a brief history of how we evolved the learning and development programs in our organization, how it all started, and where we are today, and how is it really helping us. So I'll just walk through that in 3 segments, and then I'll try to make it crisp so that it is easy to absorb. And post that, or during the, if you have any questions, please feel free to post it. I will take it towards the end so that we don't break the flow. All right, so I'll move on. So this is our journey. Verizon, for the uninitiated, Verizon as an organization started 20 years back in India, and we have evolved so much, and we have organically grown in the first decade of our operations. We are still finding food, and we were trying to establish the center as a strategic, not strategic, but more of a delivery center. That was our goal. And while we excelled at it, it was clear that that is not our way forward. We really want to be the strategic center. We want to innovate. We want to make this a more cohesive unit of Verizon Global and not just be an India-centric organization. So with that, our aspirations changed in 2014. We really wanted to catapult and become a very niche player in terms of providing very strong captive advantage for Verizon as a parent, but also making a good impact locally and tapping into the Indian talent market, creating a brand for ourselves. So in 2014, 13-14 timeframe, that's when we realized, while a decade has passed in terms of how we set up, how we operate, we clearly did not make enough progress in establishing a diverse leadership focus, a diverse talent in terms of technology expertise, etc. While we were very good at it, but our diversity was not great. So that's when our journey, a moment of reflection started, and it was we should have seen it long before, but we were happy to acknowledge at that time that we need to start course correcting ourselves. So at that time, our focus is not to just jump on and start creating programs without really creating an ecosystem that will enable the leaders to thrive, creating a sense of safety, for lack of a better word, for our employees, so that they are willing to participate in this program. There are going to be compromises they have to make while they participate in this, so that should not impact their productivity. How do we have a good enabling ecosystem overall is where we started. So we clearly set out a charter saying that we want to first make people understand why learning and development program is required, and we always start with why, but also emphasized on what you will not lose by being part of this. While everybody understands that it is to create more and more visibility, more and more technical tools and training for them, all that is obvious, but not so obvious aspect of this entire thing is there are going to be compromises that each one of our employees will have to make in terms of time, in terms of taking their day jobs are still there, so that is going to take an impact. So it is kind of a double duty. So all of those aspects we laid out as a charter. We want this program to be meaningful, rewarding, but not stressful. So that was our focus. So we created a framework. We wanted to clearly put out a charter saying this program is not just for you, but it is also for the organization. Create a complete buy-in in terms of this is the right logical next step to do for organization as a whole, and only this will set us up for success. So there was a complete buy-in from all leadership that existed at that time, and we went all out in making sure a clear charter radiating everywhere that this is the game changer for us. Then we got into deeper understanding of what are the skills that are required. So we set out talking to our enterprise architecture teams, etc., to understand where will we be 5 years from now, 10 years from now, how the industry is evolving. As you all might know, we are a telecom organization. Verizon is a communication service provider. So our tech stack was evolving. There were 3G, 4G, 5G, and we know what it takes to deliver. And we charted out that these are the different skills that we will need, and cohesively creating a set of learning paths for all of us to get there. So that all of it, and there are a few more things that I would like to call out at the end in terms of what really made this ecosystem to be strong, but I would reserve it till the third segment. I'll then move on to the next step here. The next step is to create some of the tools. First of the things that we did was creating the tuition assistance program. Every organization has it. Verizon also has it. But what we do differently is it's a very generous tuition assistance program. It's one of the best in the world. And it really is so generous that people started taking notice. When an organization is committing such amounts of money for tuition assistance with no conditions, there is no clawback clauses. We don't expect people to stay in the organization because of taking a tuition assistance program. It's absolutely treated with the utmost respect that is required. Now, when this is shown, people understand this organization is committed to it. It really means when it says that this is for developing and advancement of careers, and it is not just about benefiting for Verizon alone. So that is the mindset shift we did. Then pandemic came in. We all know we are still through it. We are struggling. All of our development programs took a pause. So what we did, we quickly switched to a virtual new leader academy kind of a platform that was established. What this does is it enables all our almost ready leaders and new leaders. This is a gender agnostic program, but there was a clear emphasis and focus to spot talent early in the time and give them this platform so that they groom themselves to be future ready. So this is that program, and it was a huge hit because it is not just giving them virtual links to go through. It is a virtual program, but it is still an instructor-led program. And when people saw that this is a very personal, customized training, and not just go and read these courses and come back, that made a difference. Again, it was purposeful. It was targeted. It was not too broad. And this program was able to create kind of a factory model of leaders for the organization. And a lot of it really helped because we exploded in maturity of Verizon, and we were able to grow up to 100% in 3-4 years in terms of our strength in India, and which also created a lot of leadership opportunities within the organization, where a lot of our top talent and women especially were able to benefit from this program, and they were ready to grab the roles that came their way. And that was a rewarding thing as well. So then we also launched Cutting Edge Learning Portal 2.0, which is a self-based learning platform.
Sorry, Kanak, I'm just gonna interject here. We can only see the first slide.
Was it?
Yeah, it's not moved on the screen.
I have not moved. The 3-step slide is
okay,
what.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm still here. Yeah, we are good. Okay. All right. So coming back, so we focused on launching a portal, and that portal is self-paced. The unique ability of this portal is, for example, I, as a leader of my organization, I will be able to create a learning path which is customized for a certain segment of leaders, and I'll be able to designate them and assign them, hey, these are the things that I think is important for you to grow. And these are partnered with the best brands in the industry for content standpoint. It really can't be better than that. So that kind of brands are associated in this third-party marketplace kind of a portal, and that made a big difference as well. Again, people started noticing. So notice the common thread in all of this is it is no holds barred, no compromise in the quality of program, and it clearly shows the organization wants to invest. And that investment is what people started to see. Okay, this is something that is truly meant for me, and I'm willing to give my time and participate. So the next segment is we had these portals, we had these platforms, we launched these programs. We also wanted to do more. We also wanted to take it to the next level. So that's where a program like Women of the World, Women in Tech Leadership Program came by. I will double click on those in the subsequent slides. So let me talk about Women of the World. This is our flagship premier global women leadership development program. It is jointly conducted in the US and India at the same time. So the first message out here is it's a truly global program, and all of our women, irrespective of their geographic locations, this was open to everyone, and this everybody is supposed to gain an entry into this program by showing aspiration, by writing statement of purposes, and clearly articulating what is their career goals, where do they want to go, helping them to understand their goals. And it was a pretty rigorous selection process, which means only the truly interested and the truly driven people were given the first opportunity. And And we also help important to address the rest of the population. First, clearly to increase the leadership capabilities of women. We targeted everyone in the organization. It was not a pre-selected, pre-filtered process. We wanted this to be truly transparent. Everybody come forward, show their interest, and give them a fair selection process. What is this program aiming to achieve? It is to engage, enable, and empower women by developing skills and attributes. How, right? So the how is very important. This is a very, very structured and a deep program where Amy Cuttle, for a speaker, and she is one of cells. How we should articulate, how do we develop a personal brand? She was driving a segment of this program. Just to give an idea of how big we think and invested in this program, worldwide renowned international personalities were personally invited to create an inspiration for our employees. So that's the kind of forum. We really enabled a huge visibility and platform for our prospective women leaders and gave them a premier flagship program. What are the 5 core competencies we focused in this program? Is one, we have to develop a personal brand. So how to develop a personal brand? While we can all coach them on technical skills, etc., but these finer aspects are extremely critical. And when some of the people who have researched about personal brand come and talk to our leaders and tell them how to be good at personal brand, how to develop self-leadership, what is effective communication, how to be do critical thinking. In fact, I can just double click on critical thinking. This is the segment that is currently in the phase. Yesterday, we had a discussion with our current trainees in this program. They found this extremely challenging to get the perspective. It talks about how do we reframe a problem. When someone is talking about a question or a customer problem that we are talking about, how do we engage in a conversation that helps us to reframe the problems, arrive at a structured way of approaching a problem statement. These are invaluable tips that usually we learn over experience, but these are given as direct examples and learnings at a very early stage of their careers. And then clearly coaching them on how to own your careers. So this for us has been an extremely successful program globally over the years. We extended this to India, and we are close to completing our first batch. This was a huge tectonic shift in terms of how we approach women leadership, and there is an executive sponsor right up to our MD and our senior directors directly involved in making sure they are taking stock of how this program is running. And the way this is executed is people are put into cohorts or squads, 10-member squads at maximum. Each of the squad kind of do group learning on each of these core competencies. They have tasks, they have presentations, they have a deeply engaging and demanding schedule over the course of 12 months for them to complete this program. We had 102 people in India who are participating in this. It's a huge number, and 1,500 globally. So this is something that we are extremely proud of, and we are going to do it annually. So the next track, so this is Women of the World. This is one of the programs. The other one is Women in Tech Leadership. One of the challenges that we are grappling with is as we go up in the hierarchy, especially in the technical side, we have built a good base of women people managers. We don't see good number of women architects, senior architects, enterprise level architects, and we want to change that shift. We want to create an impact. So how do we do that? And that program is Women in Tech Leadership. A lot of it is not because of ability, but a lot of it is because of not having enough clarity on how to pursue this track. What is the future in this track? There is a clear goal. I can become a director, managing director, senior director, vice president in this track, but I'm not so clear on how I become a global leader in technology domains alone. So we built a good framework for us that people should be happy to pursue either of these tracks based on their interests, and then giving them the clarity, giving them ways to be successful in that roles, bringing people and examples of those people to come and talk to them and tell them, this is what I do as an enterprise architect. These are the things I faced. And these are the things that I want you to not do those mistakes. So we identified 159 people, and who are potential, who have shown interest to be on the technical side. We are hands down grooming them to see how they can become strong in tech leadership also, because that pocket is untapped, and it's a huge vacuum that exists today, and we are seeing significant results as a result of this program. In fact, we had a 20% improvement in architects, more and more women architects getting created in our organization. That's a very healthy number, and we want to do more. So this program in numbers, this is a 6-month program. We have 54 participants in this current cohort. We have again 2 executive sponsors and 4 groups who are facilitating this program and intervening to make sure this goes on the right track. In my experience, and I have been an executive sponsor for this consistently, what I've seen is there is a lot of energy when people start, but the energy always comes down after 1 or 2 iterations of this coursework. And that has been my past learning. And what we do to do that, to counter that, is don't just expect them to show up, but we reach out. We have a bi-weekly squad meetings, which I also chair, and I reach out to each one of them to make sure the motivation levels don't go down, helping them with work. They might have conflicting priorities due to work, personal stuff, and it is very typical, and that's where the derailment usually starts. The disconnect starts when they hit conflicting priorities. We help them tide over that. We in fact tell them upfront that this is going to happen. 2-3 months down the line through this program, you are going to hit a conflicting priority, and that's when you will start dwindling down, and we don't want that to happen. And how to cope up with that structurally, how we will support in an organization standpoint so that you don't get derailed is a very important aspect, and that is something that we are very, very watchful of and want to make a good impact. So this is our Women in Tech Leadership program. The third one is the Tech Makers program. So this is about people who want to be in technology, but they are not there today. So this requires skill transformation. This involves an opportunity to innovate. This is to kind of create an awareness. So these are the vehicles that exist today for you to explore. So we have events like MTech. MTech is Emerging Tech Fridays. We have specific targeted hackathons. We have something called as Tech Day. Tech Day is a program which is very interesting, where we bring the best of the best industry players of technology and the Silicon Valley players. We invite them to our organization. They come and they showcase how they do technology in their organization. What are their best practices? Something like what we do here, but also share what are the latest trends, where we are heading, give them a future view. So that has been, that has seen a tremendous response. People really enjoy our tech days. It's a global event again. Then we have this WOW and Women Tech Leadership program, which I just spoke about. We also keep in constant touch with our external tech forums, the NASCOM driven forums, the GHCI forum. We create a speaking opportunity with IEEE partnerships. Some of our 5G experts, for example, have gone ahead and created papers there. Globally, we create patents. We have a very rewarding patent program, which we encourage our women employees also to participate. We are seeing good patents that have been created. So all those come into our Tech Makers program umbrella. So coming back to the first point, right? So what is that effective ecosystem that is required? There is no silver bullet for this. It is the culture of the organization that drives that ecosystem. We can put in policies, we can put in frameworks, but culturally, we need to be enabling that ecosystem. When I mean by culture, when an employee faces a distress situation, when an employee feels demotivated, which is very normal, every one of us go through that, how the organization supports in that. By default, how do we have an enabling framework that helps employees manage their personal distress and manage their aspirations? So that is a cultural fabric of the organization, which Verizon, of all the programs, if you want me to single out what is our most proud framework, is that our ecosystem. Our gradual return to work policy, for example, is a industry-best program. Then we have Health with a Newborn, which is the mystical motherhood program. We have flexible work arrangement, so flexible that employees love it. They create their own schedules. We don't demand. They set what they can, what they cannot do. And our people management layer are extremely comfortable in providing that flexibility to our employees, so that it has become very independent and very seamless way of managing their schedules. Industry leading employee assistance program. Our telemedicine capabilities in terms of partners we have are industry best, and our increased focus in wellness over the last couple of years is also a big enabler to having the right frame of mind for our employees, especially women employees, to pursue their aspirations. So these are the things I wanted to walk all of you through. I'll be happy to take any questions. I'm very, very glad to be part of this forum today.
Yeah, thanks much for those insights, Kanak. There was a question on chat where they wanted to see your slides or any further information that you'd like to share from those slides that you put together.
Sorry, I didn't quite get it. You want this slide or you want me to open a specific slide?
No. It looked like you had some research done in the background from the other slides that are on your presentation. But if there's not, then I can share questions with you. There was a question on chat saying, can we have a look at your other slides so that we can make notes?
Okay, got it. I did eventually change. So that was the question from Anika. Was it helpful, Anika? Do you have any specific questions?
Okay, we didn't see the change on screen, Kanak. It's still on your first slide.
Really?
Yeah, that's what I brought up earlier on as well. We're only looking at women L&D programs in this slide.
Let me check. Are you able to see now?
Yeah, I can see another slide now. Tech Makers program is what's on screen.
Are you able to see? Is it moving now?
Yeah, now we can see.
All right. Oh, sorry about it. I thought it was moving to me. Apologies for that. I can quickly brush back if there are any questions. So this is the Women of the World program that I was speaking about. In terms of what I wanted to highlight, these are the 5 core competencies: personal brand, self-leadership, effective communication, critical thinking, and owning your careers. The right side is just numbers that shows how many people are participating, but from a framework standpoint, this is what that program is. It is about creating these 5 core competencies for our participants. You're in the Women of the World slide, right? That's what you're all seeing.
Yeah, we can see Women of the World right now.
All right, thanks. So the other one is Women in Tech Leadership program, and this is where we are creating that pipeline specifically focused on technical architects, enterprise architects, distinguished engineers, that framework. And here, how the primary purpose is called out, how it is designed is to focus on technical skill sets coupled with leadership principles. It is self-paced training program, but a demanding program by itself with weekly milestones to be met. We have 159 women talent on specific bands who are targeted through this program. Right. And this is the same program in numbers. It's a 6-month course. Program, and we have 12 make it successful. Many of them women leaders by themselves, and that itself has been the transformational shift that I earlier spoke about.
Right, sure. Okay, so on the basis of the slides being shared, do we have any other questions that you'd like to put into chat, everyone? Otherwise, I have two questions that I'd like to ask. Uh, just one sec. How do you, apart from the programs that you put up, how do you continuously support learning for women employees in terms of do you revisit these programs and you know tweak them according to what you're seeing as an outcome of when you launch these learning and development programs? Do you then constantly retweak them or reevaluate the outcomes or any changes that you want to make?
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for that question. Absolutely. A constant feedback loop is very critical element of designing this program. And as I was saying, we take feedback and my observations as well. And I mean, in my own observation, all these tech sponsors, executive sponsors who are running this program constantly feed in the input, say these are the things that we need to tweak. I can give an example where at a particular segment of this learning path, we see a lot of people having difficulties crossing this stage. It may be too complex. We may have to fine tune it a little bit for our next iteration. That kind of feedback loop constantly happens, especially of the Women of the World program. It is a very globally fine-tuned program that constantly it is adapting based on that year's challenges we face in the industry and in the organization. So, for example, this year's focus was on 5G engineering, 5G MEC. How do we create 5G specific talent base? Because that is the need of the industry. How do we make smart devices, smart connected ecosystems? That is an aspect of the training. It shifts based on the trends at that time. So those kind of customizations always happen, and but the core structure itself is tweaked. Right now we are all in the virtual world, so for that these have been tweaked, and we constantly do that. So that feedback loop is very much constant, both from sponsors and also from participants.
Sure. All right. And what are the maybe general challenges that you face while you're implementing these learning and development programs? Maybe from a pre-pandemic point of view, and also now with the pandemic, after everything that is brought upon us.
Yeah. Thank you. Another great question. One of the things that we have observed, in fact, post-pandemic or during in pandemic time, the participation has actually increased. People are able to consume more of this talent materials that is available, since a lot of this is self-paced and people are able to find time to do this, even at extended hours, to make this happen. That's a healthy shift in terms of consumption, but it is also more draining because a lot of us are going through a lot of mental challenges, especially during the wave 2. We kind of understood that we customized their schedule. We kind of said, okay, this month, this couple of months, I know it's been hard for all of us. Let's take it slow. We gave them time to recuperate, and the overall program itself was kind of mellowed for that 2-3 week period, and that adaptations happened. But the need for consuming this learning and the value that they expect out of it has dramatically shifted. More and more people want to participate. It has become a competition of sorts to get opportunity in some of our flagship programs. That is a very healthy sign. We are only managing, not trying to go and find participants. The problem is the other way, which means it just underscores the depth of the program that it is offering, the opportunity that it is creating, is what is driving interest. And that is where I would strongly suggest to focus on. When people see that the organization has invested in creating a program of high quality, the attention and to that naturally comes from our team members.
Sure. Okay. Thanks very much, Kanak. That was an in-depth insight into a lot of the learning and development at Verizon, and it's great to know that it's the other way around for you, as in you have an increased participation versus otherwise.
Yep.
All right, and with that, we come to the end of this particular session.